we had a beautiful thoroughbred horse who was a racing horse before we rescued her. And then once we rescued her, she came and retired at the Gentle Barn. And so when we tried to brush her and groom her or hug her, she would be very, very impatient. And she would say, all right, already, all right. Like after 5 minutes, she was like, I'm good. You brushed my hair long enough. But when hurting teenagers from drug and alcohol rehab centers or probation camps or domestic violence shelters or homeless shelters would be with her, they could hug her, brush her, pet her, lay with her for hours, and she would not move one single muscle. She would completely avail herself to these teenagers that needed her so desperately because she knew what they were going through and how they were feeling, and she knew her service to them. And it took our breath away.
You are here for a reason, but navigating this human life can be challenging. How do you care for your body, mind, and spirit to make the most of your time here on Earth? How can you harness your incredible human potential? In this podcast, we explore these questions and more to help you craft your best life yet. Welcome to I Am Human. Hi, beautiful humans. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Dr. Yami, and it is my pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for subscribing, reviewing, and sharing this podcast. It is so greatly appreciated. To be human means to experience suffering, but it also means to transmute that suffering into empathy, love, and compassion for others. And guess what? This is true for animals as well. Our guest today knows this deeply and intimately. Ellie Laks is the founder of the Gentle Barn Foundation, a national organization that rescues and rehabilitates unwanted animals and heals people with the same stories of abuse and neglect. Ellie is a powerful speaker, celebrated animal welfare advocate, humane educator, animal communicator, and the author of My Gentle Barn, Creating a Sanctuary Where Animals Heal and Children Learn to Hope, and Cow Hug Therapy, How the Animals at the Gentle Barn Taught Me About Life, Death, and Everything in Between. Ellie founded the Gentle Barn in 1999. She invented her own gentle healing method that allows old, sick, injured, and terrified animals to fully recover. Ellie is the creator of Cow Hug Therapy and has hosted hundreds of thousands of people who have come to the Gentle Barn seeking hope. And this is Ellie's second visit on the podcast, and this was such a powerful and fantastic episode. We talked about how animals have healed her and how animals can help us when we're suffering. We talk about the kinds of people that visit the Gentle Barn and are helped by the animals. We talk about the wishing well. We talk about how cows meditate and practice self-care. And then we get to go over a few of the stories that are in the book that are just so heartwarming and touching. And I just love hearing from Ellie, hearing her stories, and learning everything that she has learned. So this is a fantastic episode. I didn't get through all of my questions, so I will definitely be having her back again, specifically to talk about self-care for us humans, because I think for somebody like her, who has devoted her life to animals and to helping other humans as well, she's learned a lot about self-care. But I know that you're going to love this episode. I really, really encourage you to get this book, Cow Hug Therapy. I cried tears of joy. I cried tears of sadness. It just really touched me and left an impression on my heart. So please get this book. You're going to love it. You're going to love the stories. You're going to learn so much. You're going to feel closer to animals. And I hope that you love this episode. So thank you so much for being here. Have a plantastic day. And now let's welcome Ellie Laks onto I Am Human. The information on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not meant to replace careful evaluation and treatment. If you have concerns about your health or well-being, please consult a healthcare professional. Ellie Laks, welcome back to the show. What a pleasure to have you. I can't wait to talk all about your new book.
Well, I'm so excited to be here talking with you.
So, your book is just beautiful. I don't even have another word to describe it. And even just thinking about it already brings tears to my eyes. But I cried so much, so many tears, joy, sadness, just gratitude that you put these stories down in writing for to share with people. I can't wait to share this book with other people because I know it's going to touch them so much. So thank you so much for writing this book. But I want to start off with, it's a big question, but how have animals healed you? And how can animals help us when we're suffering?
So it is a really big question. And in fact, I wrote 2 books about that. But animals have helped me since I was a small child. They help me ground and center. They help me be still and present. They looked at me with so much love and acceptance that I felt okay in my own skin. They gave me a place to turn to cry and be heard. They made me feel like the best version of myself. And really, those things are true as a very, very small child to when I founded the Gentle Barn to now 25 years later, it is still true today. And every animal at the Gentle Barn and every dog and cat or bird that I have known personally, every animal that I've ever met, all the animals that I speak to in my animal communication sessions for other clients, those animals have all brought me gifts of healing, inspiration, wisdom. They have so much to teach us when we're paying attention.
Yeah, and it's a journey, right? I mean, there's still so much more. There's so much to learn, experience, and so many mysteries of this universe and this lifetime and the many lifetimes. So I know that there's so much that you tell us in the book, but tell us a little bit about the kinds of people that have been helped by animals at the Gentle Barn. I know that, for many years you started special programs, and it's very just generous what you've been able to do with the animals. But tell us a little bit about what kinds of people come to the Gentle Barn to have healing from the animals.
The Gentle Barn is open to the public on Sundays. And during the week, we host school field trips, private tours, cow hug therapy sessions, equine therapy sessions, and barnyard therapy sessions. So all the animals play a role in healing humans when they are ready and when they want to. At all 3 locations. So the Gentle Barn is located in Los Angeles, California, Nashville, Tennessee, and St. Louis, Missouri. And the animals, once healed and once they choose to, pay it forward to all kinds of hurting humans. We have seen animal lovers, of course, families that want to experience nature and the love of animals together. We've seen couples and people that are dating come and enjoy the animals together as a bonding moment. And more deeply, we work with people that suffer from depression, anxiety, grief, loss, trauma, PTSD. Anybody that is lonely, needs to connect, needs a good hug, needs to feel held by like a big mom figure, they can come and they can find those things at the Gentle Barn. We've also had many people come that love animals but aren't really kind of aware of who they might be eating. And they hug the cows, cuddle the turkeys, hold the chickens, and they have a real awakening, not just to connect deeply with these remarkable animals and the wisdom and lessons they have to teach us, but also to expand their own hearts and change their own minds to who these animals truly are. And the majority of them go vegan when they leave, or at least much more aware of these animals and who they truly are and wanting to change, wanting to do better, and kind of embark on their journey to gentleness.
I love that you emphasize that no animal is forced to participate in the therapy, and they have to go through their own healing journey too, because many of these animals, they come themselves from a place of trauma and neglect and pain and suffering. So can you talk a little bit about that and how that works as far as rehabbing an animal, and how can you tell if it wants to participate in the therapy? How do you figure that out?
Great question. So yes, it is not something that we teach. It's not something that we train, and it's not something that we ask the animals to do. It's something that the animals step up and choose to do once they are ready. And as an example, if you look at a human therapist, the majority of human therapists are people that they themselves have gone through trauma, loss, grief, and struggle. They've been lost. and they had to work at finding themselves, and they had to work at healing themselves. Once they went through all of that, there's so much knowledge gained from that journey that some people choose to pay that forward by becoming therapists and helping other humans. It is exactly the same with our animal ambassadors here at the Gentle Barn. They come from so many different ways of trauma. They've been separated from their moms as babies. They've been separated from their families. They've seen horror happen before their eyes. They have been neglected and abused. They have been unseen and unheard and misunderstood. And so they come to the Gentle Barn, and first and foremost, they have to go through their own recovery process. They have to learn to forgive. They have to learn to trust. They have to make a family with their own kind, but also incorporate human beings into their family. They have to find peace and joy. They have to center. They have to realize that the people around them at the Gentle Barn see them for who they are, as opposed to all the people that couldn't see them before. Once they've gone through their healing process and now they're not running away, their eyes aren't wide as saucers, they're not trembling, they have forgiven, they have learned to love and trust, they have set their past down, and they have walked away from it. Then we're open to the public on Sundays. Like I said, we have visitors, we have programs and tours going on. And at some point in their journey, they are the ones that choose to approach us, either for a pat or a lick or a treat or a hug, but they're the ones that choose it. And once they choose it, they will keep stepping up time and time again to offer themselves and avail themselves to hurting humans. And I think one of the most remarkable things about the animal ambassadors at the Gentle Barn is that they know what people are feeling. When people come either to visit or for a cow hug therapy or whatever, we don't ask them what they've been through or why they booked a session or how they are feeling. We welcome them and we bring them to connect with the animals. But the animals understand what they've gone through. They are so intuitive. They are so much more powerful and wise than we ever give them credit for. And we have seen this time and time again, where we had a beautiful thoroughbred horse who was a racing horse before we rescued her. And then once we rescued her, she came and retired at the Gentle Barn. And so when we tried to brush her and groom her or hug her, she would be very, very impatient. And she would say, "All right, already, all right." Like after 5 minutes, she was like, I'm good. You brushed my hair long enough." But when hurting teenagers from drug and alcohol rehab centers or probation camps or domestic violence shelters or homeless shelters would be with her, they could hug her, brush her, pet her, lay with her for hours, and she would not move one single muscle. She would completely avail herself to these teenagers that needed her so desperately because she knew what they were going through and how they were feeling, and she knew her service to them. And it took our breath away. And it's the same thing with the cows. When people come, the cows seem to know in cow hug therapy whether someone just needs a good laugh and they'll do something silly or lick them to make them giggle, or if someone needs to ground and center and meditate and they'll hold still and exude all of that meditating energy to them. Or if someone is in real crisis, the cows will literally wrap their necks around these people and hold them for an hour. It's beautiful to witness.
Wow. It's just that, it's amazing. It's incredible that you were able to have the patience and the intuition to discover this and to be able to create a method that allows the animals to become ambassadors, like you said, like you call them ambassadors. I think that's just so beautiful. Well, tell me, one thing that was really interesting too is you talk about having a wishing well. Do you have a wishing well at every single location?
We sure do. So when we purchased the first property in Santa Clarita, California, just outside Los Angeles, it actually had a wishing well already built there. And Jay was like, Jay and I, Jay is my husband and co-founder of the Gentle Barn. We were like, "Oh my God, this is perfect. People have to make wishes because our wishes came true." And so we started incorporating the wishing well in every single group. And then when we opened in Nashville, Tennessee, we built a wishing well, and the same thing in Missouri. So yes, that's the model. If we ever expand and open more Gentle Barns, they will always have a wishing well.
Well, tell me how you use that and why do you think it has so much impact?
All right, I'll give you the perfect example. This is one of my favorite stories. There was a group of kids that came from Watts and South Central Los Angeles. They were living in the projects. Many of them had broken homes. Many of them had experienced extreme violence. There was a lot of alcoholism in their neighborhoods. There was a lot of struggles that these very young children were dealing with. And they came to the Gentle Barn as part of a PALS program put together by the Los Angeles Police Department, where they would identify the kids most at risk and most struggling. And they would partner with these kids to help them get through school and on to college. And they would also bring these kids out into the community so they could see the world and they could see the infinite possibilities that lay in front of them to really inspire them to get up and out of their neighborhoods and really have beautiful lives. So the police brought these groups of children to the Gentle Barn. And I remember one time we had a group of 11-year-olds and we had seen the animals and hugged the cows and given the pigs tummy rubs and cuddled the turkeys. And we had a beautiful time together. And then at the end of the group, we brought them to the wishing well. And I explained to them that the Gentle Barn is here because of a dream that I had when I was 7 years old. And I didn't finish college. I had challenges growing up. I didn't have a lot of money, but I wouldn't let go of my dream and therefore kept going at it until finally, look, my dream came true. And now I get to live my dream every single day. And so I explained to them that dreams come true when we don't give up on them. And so I encouraged them to write their dreams on a rock. And then once everybody wrote their dream on the rock, we took turns going around in a circle, kind of almost saying the dream as an affirmation. So if somebody wanted to be a policeman, they would say, I am a policeman. I am a teacher. I am a nurse. I have a family and I am loved and happy. And then they would toss the rocks into the wishing well. And what we would say to them is, till the end of time, your rocks and your dreams and your wishes will always be in this well. So as you grow up, as you go through the challenges of life, as you move on with your lives, in those moments where you find yourself lost or find yourself giving up on your dreams or thinking they're not possible or forgetting who you are, remember what is written here. Remember that your dream, the light that you've come to shine, the song that you've come to sing, the dance that you've come to dance is written here. And you can always be reminded and return to that in the moments where you get lost. And there was one boy that looked up at me and said, dreams don't come true. And that really let us see where this boy is. He has experienced so much loss, so much trauma, so much grief already in his little 11-year-old life that he not only doesn't have shoes that fit, doesn't have a safe home, doesn't live in a safe neighborhood, but he doesn't even have hope. And we spent the next year in our program with this beautiful boy, showing him that everything could be stripped away from us. Everything. We could literally lose everything, but no one and nothing can take away our hope. And if we can hold on to hope and hold on to our dreams and feel it, taste it, and touch it in our minds and visit there like it's real, that no matter what, we can always manifest, we can always visualize, we can always attain what our dreams are if we don't give up. And we kept working with that boy over the course of an entire year. And we got him through the animals, through their stories, through their tales of resilience. We got him to acknowledge that no matter what he's going through, there is hope, and to cling to that, to guide him forward and to move him towards the life that he wants to create. And so that's why there's a wishing well at the Gentle Barn, because my dream came true from the age of 7. And if that can come true, anybody's can. And it's not just about me. We have animals, like we have six cows that are at the Gentle Barn St. Louis location. They were rescued from inside a slaughterhouse. And as I write in my book, if cows inside a slaughterhouse can dream of a life of freedom, safety, dignity, and respect at a sanctuary, and their dreams came true, then anybody's can.
That's just so powerful. I love how, you started these sanctuaries for animals, but you're impacting humans so strongly through the help of the animals and the example of the animals and everything that you've learned. I mean, it's just, there's such a ripple effect from everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, I never knew that cows meditated. So, but once I read your book, I started thinking about it. I was like, oh, yes, I've definitely seen cows do that. I just didn't know they were meditating. So tell me a little bit about cow meditation and how they practice self-care.
So if you look at the entire animal kingdom, with the exception of human beings, they all meditate. Cats sleep 20 hours a day. There's always a moment where you'll find an animal either looking like they're sleeping or staring off blankly into space. They take that me time. They take that quiet time to reflect, to turn inwards, to connect with their higher selves, and to be reminded of who they are. It's really us human beings that don't do that enough. We are in such a fast-paced, high-tech world, and there's information coming to us from all angles. And it starts young. It starts when we're in preschool, right? And we're told to sit down, be quiet, follow someone else's rules. Kids are kept busy, not only in school or at home, but also after school with homework. There's just so much busy work that we are not raised or trained or groomed to sit in the stillness. But thankfully, that skill was never removed or trained out of animals. Animals always do that naturally. And so cows especially, I mean, you can really see it. It's so obvious. Obviously, I'm not talking about cows inside a slaughterhouse or in a feedlot where they're fearing for their lives. That's called survival mode. When you're in survival mode, you're not behaving the way that you are designed to. But in a sanctuary, once you've learned to trust and forgive, and you're living a beautiful life where you have a family around you, you have food and water, you have safety and respect, and you're allowed to lay down, close your eyes, chew rhythmically with your mouth, and just go somewhere else. Either connect to past loved ones, connect to the animals around you, connect to yourself. And we have seen, because we have 3 Gentle Barn locations, and no matter which location it is, no matter if they're male or female, young or old, every single solitary one of our cows meditates every single day. Usually it's around 11, 12, 1, somewhere in there midday. They've had their breakfast, their bellies are full, they have groomed and licked each other, they have played and explored, and then somewhere between 11 and 1 is when they lay down and they meditate. And it's such a huge life lesson for all of us. Because when we are listening to the information coming at us from all angles, when we are always busy and exhausted, running from one to-do list to the next, we are kind of like leaves blowing in the wind. We're just kind of frenzied and all over the place, and it's not intentional. But when we can make time to really sit in the stillness, be centered, be grounded, connect, be open, be receptive to downloads from our spirit, from angels and guides, that's where we receive information. That's where we grow our intuition. That's where we connect. And if we can do that, then everything else the rest of the day is intentional. It's on purpose. It's coming from your higher self. It's coming from that intuition. It's coming from that openness. And we can be so much more productive when we operate that way. And cows do it every single day, and they are always there to teach us that lesson when we forget.
And you said yourself that you had to learn from the cows because it took you quite a while to be able to sit still and meditate. And I think for a lot of us, that's true too. Our minds are constantly thinking of the grocery list and all the chores and everything we have to do. So I think knowing that it could take practice and persistence to keep practicing that skill, I think is really important.
Yes. I mean, it's kind of like seeing somebody that has a very muscular, slender, toned build. And you think like, oh, that'll never be me. Well, I mean, that person wasn't born that way. That person went to the gym or ran or worked out countless hours for days, months, years till they practiced that muscle. And meditation is the same thing. We're not born knowing how to connect to meditation unless the people around us have taught us that skill. Native Americans, Aboriginal cultures, Native cultures, it is taught in their cultures just the same way that it is taught in the animal world. So if you're taught that way, then yes, it's going to come naturally. But if you live in the Western world, where the last thing that's taught to us is this kind of muscle that we're talking about, it's something that we have to develop and work on. So when I sat down to meditate in my early 20s, it literally was like torture. My brain would not stop. The thoughts would not shut up. It was absolute torture to sit there and wait for my timer to go off. It was awful, but I kept at it day after day after day. And what I did was I just set a timer for 5 minutes. I said, let me just start with 5 minutes. And I set a timer. And in the beginning, all I thought was, oh my God, is the timer going to go off yet? This is so hard to sit still. But I just kept at it, and slowly, my mind started to quiet. My thoughts started to still. All of a sudden, I'm realizing, oh my God, the timer went off so quickly. I didn't even, the time flew by. Then I went from 5 to 10 minutes. And little by little, with persistence and dedication, it has become something that is like oxygen to me. I need it. I have to have it. I can't start a day without it. I will not start a day without it. I remember years ago someone telling me, you think that you're too busy and don't have time to meditate, but actually when you meditate, you find yourself with more time. And I was like, what in the world does that mean? That doesn't even make any sense. But now, years later, I am here to tell you that is absolutely the God-given truth. I have reached a point in my life where I am not willing to leave my bedroom without meditating. That's my rule. And I don't care if it's 5 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. I am going to sit in my chair and meditate for whatever time I have. And it does something. It makes me more peaceful. It makes me more intentional. It makes me more connected, more intuitive, more open to ideas, more driven by my intuition and instinct. So I make less mistakes. I'm much more efficient with my time. I'm much more connected to others around me. And it makes me 1,000 times more efficient at my work. And I'm not willing to live without it. But just a mere 25 years ago, I thought even 5 minutes of meditation was torture. So it's a muscle that we have to exercise and get good at, but we can do it. And then our lives are better for it.
That's like an astounding testimonial for meditation. So thanks for that. Well, let's talk about Buddha. I know that Buddha has been very impactful in your life. Buddha was a cow. And what did Buddha teach you about death and transitioning?
Okay, so first of all, for those of you that are watching the video, Buddha is right behind me. That's Buddha. And she is always right behind my right shoulder, guiding me even today, even though she is no longer in her body. Buddha is chapter 2 of my book, Cow Hug Therapy, and I could probably write an entire book just about her alone. She was everything to me. She was my mom. She was my teacher. She was my partner. She helped get the Gentle Barn off the ground. Now, even though me and Jay had challenges growing up, and it was always animals that were our greatest witnesses, teachers, healers, and friends. And so I always knew that animals were capable of so much healing. It was really Buddha that ushered us through those first groups of people that came to visit the Gentle Barn, the broken ones, the hurting ones, the teenagers that were so hard to kind of reach. And Buddha was there every step of the way, showing me the magic of cow hug therapy, showing me the magic of those cow hugs and how it cracked people wide open and it reached inside them and pulled them out and it helped them be vulnerable and humble and open. And it started that healing process for those people. Buddha was the inventor of cow hug therapy. It's not something I dreamt of the Gentle Barn since I was 7, but I didn't know that cows gave out hugs. And it was because of Buddha. She was my first cow. And in those evenings, in those early days when I was trying to get this nonprofit off the ground, raise money, run the programs, take care of the animals, bring in staff. I mean, it was so much going on at the same time that I was raising my own baby and in my own marriage. And in those stressful days, it was Buddha that wrapped her neck around me and held me and allowed me to cry into her shoulder and allowed me to wash away the day and feel strong and be ready for the next day. And I came to rely on those hugs like they were a life raft. And after a few weeks, I realized, oh my God, I can't keep this to myself. I have to share it with other people. So I started bringing people in, not just to visit the animals at the gentle barn, but to receive the remarkable healing that she was giving out, which is cow hug therapy. She kept me strong. Oh, but your question, sorry, I was rambling about Buddha. I told you I could fill a whole book about her. Your question was what she taught me about grief and death and loss, yes?
Yes.
When Buddha left her body, I literally thought I was going to die. I had never had a loss like that before. I had said farewell to many animals and laid them to rest and thanked them for knowing me and loving me. But Buddha was my soulmate. She was my teacher. She was my partner in every sense of the word. And she was my mother. She raised me. She taught me how to meditate. She taught me how to run the gentle barn. I turned to her when I was having a hard time. She was everything. And I didn't know how to live in a world without her. I laid on the floor in a fetal position for weeks. I kept wailing and scaring my poor husband to death. I didn't know how to stop. And as I write in the book, it was a whole series of events. It was a friend of mine who was an animal communicator that started talking to Buddha for me and with me so that I could kind of regain the connection. It was a tribe of elder women, grandmothers from a Native American tribe that came and did a ceremony to remember Buddha and to heal. It was Jay's patience and and time. But really, what I learned from that earth-shattering loss was that there really is no such thing as death, and that Buddha never left me, and she never will. She left her body, and I can still talk to her. I can still connect to her. As a matter of fact, not only can I still be with her, but in a much stronger way, because Buddha, when she was in her body, she was in a cow pasture. And so when I traveled or did other things, I was not with her. But now that she's in spirit and not bound to a body, she's literally with me wherever I go. She's always just a thought away. All I need to do is close my eyes and think of her, and I can ask her business advice. I can ask her for parenting advice, marriage advice, any challenge that's going on in my life. All I have to do is close my eyes and say Buddha's name, and she's right in front of me, and I can have wonderful conversations with her. And she is guiding me every step of the way. She will always be with me, and I believe she always has been. And I think the veil between this earthly reality and the other side is very, very thin. I don't think that we necessarily talk about those things in our culture, right? We talk about like going over the rainbow bridge or going to heaven. We talk about dying, which is like, an ending. And what Buddha taught me, what all the gentle barn animals continue to teach me, what my animal communication clients continue to teach me when I talk to animals on the other side who have transitioned, they continue to teach me that they are still right here. Our soulmates never leave us. Love never dies. Our connections are never lost. The only difference, and this is what Buddha taught me, in this physical reality, we open our eyes and we can see, smell, hear, and touch our loved ones. To maintain a relationship with our soulmates on the other side, instead of opening our eyes to experience them, we need to close our eyes and feel them. But they are right with us, sometimes much closer than before.
Yeah. That's amazing. One of the things that struck me as you were writing that story about Buddha is that I forget the name of the animal communicator that taught you, and she helped you. And one of the first things that Buddha said after you had been suffering for so many weeks and months was, knock it off. Like it's time to move on. Come on. I haven't gone anywhere. And I think that's just so interesting because as human beings, we do have this attachment to the physical. And as you talk about in the book, we have this amnesia that we don't quite understand that, everything is eternal, that it's forever. Like we feel like it's just this impermanence. And that's why it feels so painful and so heavy. But she was like, all right, lady, knock it off. I'm here. Move on. I haven't gone anywhere. And was that surprising to you when she told you that?
I mean, she's a very strong mom, right?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, sometimes she had to talk sternly to get through to me. And it was like shocking, like, wow, she's telling me to knock it off. But she was right, because from her standpoint, she's literally right next to me. And she's like, my God, just knock it off. I'm right here. And I mean, she didn't say that day one. She gave me a minute to grieve and mourn and be in the fetal position and wail and scare everyone half to death. But, 3 weeks in, she's like, okay, now knock it off. It's time to rebuild our relationship. It's time to remind you that I'm still here. It's time to reconnect and move forward. And Amanda is the animal communicator that really helped me with that. And she reconnected me to Buddha, and she helped us move forward.
So beautiful.
And I'll be forever indebted to her. I will never forget her kindness and how she saved my life, which is why, as an animal communicator now for clients all over the world, talking to animals that have transitioned is my all-time favorite thing, because Amanda saved my life with that. And now to return the favor to other people is my greatest joy.
Wow. Well, like I said, so many incredible stories. One of the other stories you have in the book is about a cow named Lucy that adopted a baby cow named Ferdinand, and shocked and surprised you because she was an older cow, right? And she actually started lactating. She hadn't had a baby of her own recently. And she wholeheartedly adopted Ferdinand and nursed Ferdinand. And I mean, that was just so incredible. As a pediatrician, I know that we can help women that are adopting children induce lactation and, all of those things. It's sometimes quite difficult in humans. There's a lot of things you have to do, but it's not impossible. But I know that you were surprised when that happened. Tell me about the ways that you've been humbled by just the generous love that animals express to one another.
Oh my God. And humbled is the perfect word. Yeah. I mean, not only was Lucy willing to adopt this orphan baby and befriend him and be sweet to him, because she could have easily been nasty to him, but she was lovely to him. But then she adopted him so completely that she produced milk for him, and she nursed him 3 times a day and gave him a bath every night before she put him to bed. The generosity, the thoughtfulness, the kindness, the wisdom there. We had a beautiful goat named Gus who was in love with our turkey son. And it wasn't that Gus loved all turkeys. He just loved Son. And it wasn't just Son loving all goats. It was just Gus. They would find each other at a certain point every single day. And they would come together and close their eyes and intertwine each other's necks. And they were having some kind of private conversation that the rest of us were not invited to. They talked to each other. They journeyed with each other. Nobody bothered them, not even the other animals. Like, nobody dared to interrupt their space. And they had a very special relationship and love affair, dare I say, until they kind of both passed away respectively from old age. The friendships, the love affairs. We have a horse named Hero, and she went blind shortly after being rescued from a horrendous cruelty case that I won't go into. But suffice it to say that she went blind because she had cancer in both her eyes. And a horse that she was friendly with, his name was Cherokee. Cherokee took it upon himself to be her seeing eye horse. And he would be right next to her all day long. He would lead her to water and shelter and food. He was always there to protect her from the other horses, making sure they didn't bump into her by mistake. And they were inseparable until the day he passed away. And Hero mourned and grieved for, a few weeks. And then another member of the herd stepped forward and said, I got you. And she fell in love with that horse. She is now on her 8th husband. She has loved and lost 8 times, or 7 times, I guess. She's on her 8th now. And I mean, any of us hearing that story, I imagine myself like, oh my God, if God forbid anything happened to my husband, like, how would I even breathe again? How would I function? It would be like, one of the worst things that would ever happen to me, God forbid. And I never know that pain. she just would never close her heart. She just kept opening her heart again and again and again to let new love in. It's astounding. It's breathtaking. It's almost inconceivable that she is willing to love again and avail herself to another love experience, knowing full well that it might lead to another loss. But she didn't stand in the fear. She standed in the love. She standed in the open possibilities. She stood in the openness. I'm blown away by her. The risks these animals are willing to take, the love that they're willing to share, the healing that they're willing to give, they are extraordinary. And the more I see them do, the more stories that unfold, the more extraordinary examples there are in front of my eyes here at the barnyard, the sadder I feel at how the world treats these animals, how they speak about them, how they can't see them. It's mind-boggling to me that here are these extraordinary creatures like Jesus, like the Buddha, like Dalai Lama, like incredible mythical creatures that are here to teach us, to save us, to love us, to show us the way. And look what we're doing to them. We are so blind. We are so removed from our connection with them. And I just keep praying with every fiber of my being, please allow humanity's heart to open. Please allow humanity's eyes to see. Please allow humanity's soul to feel, so that we can be the planet that we were designed to be, that we can be the community of humans and animals and all kinds that we were designed to be to each other. We are so lost, and I pray that we are found one day.
And you're doing so much to raise that awareness. And I think one thing that's so important is to realize that each individual animal has a rich personality and life, and they're all so unique. They're not these one-dimensional things that we just eat, you know? And whenever you bring these stories of these animals that come from all different backgrounds, bound to go to slaughterhouses or wherever, yeah, abuse cases, and you think, oh, that was just a pig that we were just going to eat. But it has this unique personality. It has desires. It has dreams. And it makes me think of one story that was a little bit comical, even though I know that it was very frustrating at the time. And it was of the horse magic that also surprised you, because you're thinking, okay, this horse gets to come to this beautiful sanctuary and just chill and relax and do what it wants and get fed and groomed and whatever. And the horse was really, really upset because he wanted to be a star. And so he was just like, why are you keeping me here? I'm frustrated. I want to go out and perform and be this beautiful horse that I was destined to be. So he had this rich personality and desires too. And I think that once we start seeing that animals are also individuals, they have these souls, in their souls, they have these desires. I think that we're going to start changing our minds about them too. So I'm just so happy you wrote these stories down, because it helps people understand that. But before we move further, I want to touch on Socks, because this story, it was just amazing. So Socks is a dog, was your dog for a really long time. And she was able to communicate with you and let you know that she had about a year left of life. And whenever you talked to her, she actually gave you a bucket list, which I loved, which also talks to you about desires, you know, because she was such a good dog, such an obedient dog, and such a helpful dog. So tell me about that bucket list. How did you react, first of all? Was it surprising to you? Were you confused about it? Because I just want to know a little bit more about your thought process when Socks communicated this to you.
So one of the greatest benefits of animal communication is being able to talk to animals that are either elderly or approaching, their transition, and get an idea of, like, are they suffering? Do they want to go? Are they feeling great and they want more time? Are there things that they want to experience before they go, or things that they need that will help them feel better? And yes, we have our veterinarians and we have our own relationships with the animals, but hearing straight from the animal what they want, what they need, what they're feeling is invaluable. And so I'm so grateful for my animal communication gift that I was able to have these conversations with Socks. So Socks started eating less and losing weight, and I became concerned, and I brought her to the vet, and the vet did a whole bunch of tests, which at first were inconclusive. And then finally we kept doing more and more tests and found out that she did have stomach cancer. And of course, I really relied on Socks. She was my service dog. She went everywhere with me, and I couldn't imagine a life without her. And so I immediately talked to Socks and said, what's going on? And Socks said, don't worry. I'm going to give you one more year. And in that year, I'm going to train your next service dog, so you'll be in good hands when I leave. But the second thing that I'm going to do is I want to give you a list of all the things that I want to experience before I go. And so I was like, well, hold on a second. And I ran and got a paper and a pen. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And she gave me a really strange bucket list. Like, I understand a dog saying, like, oh, I want to go to the beach one more time, or I want to hike that mountain, or I want to eat that whatever delicious food. But some of the things that she said were very unusual and, yes, took me by surprise. She had been the perfect dog. I mean, never chewed up a toy, never soiled in the house. I could make a delicious dinner and put it on the floor and leave the house, and there's no way she was going to eat it. So she had been like the perfect citizen. And her bucket list was, she wanted to tear apart her toys. She wanted to tear apart her dog bed. She wanted to pee in every room of the house. She wanted to go through the trash, and she wanted to eat my food for the rest of her life. Like, for the rest of the, for that last year she was going to give me, I was not allowed to just eat something for myself. I had to share everything with her. And so I wrote down, and she wanted to go to the beach one last time. So I wrote down that list. And there was a part of me that was like, come on, like, that's such an unusual list. Is she really going to do those things? She did them all. She all of a sudden started shredding her toys. She had never done that before. She started shredding her toys. And so I would say, wow, there's one on her list. And then I just kept getting her new toys. And I just keep getting her as many toys as she wanted, and she would just destroy them all. Then she always slept on the foot of the bed. But now that kind of into that last year, she started getting slower and thinner, and like she couldn't jump up on the bed. So I got her a very expensive dog bed so she could lay in comfort. She destroyed that thing. She tore it apart into thousands of tiny little pieces that were like all over the house. And instead of stopping her, I laughed, and I was like, oh my God, like, that's one of her bucket lists. And so I just sat and watched her. She spent 3 hours tearing this thing to shreds, and I spent so long picking it up and cleaning up after her when she was done, but checked it off her bucket list. And the brilliant thing about Socks is that she had these items on her bucket list, but she did them once and then she was done. So it's not like for the rest of the year she was destroying dog beds. She did that one bed and then she was done. She did that, a bunch of toys, and then she was done. And then she walked into my daughter's bedroom, right in front of her, looking at my daughter, squatted and peed. And my daughter was like, Mom! And I was like, sorry, Cheyenne, it was on her bucket list. And so, of course, I cleaned it up. Then she went in the living room and did it, my bedroom and did it, the kitchen and did it. And then once she had soiled every room in the house, that was it. Like, she got it out of her system. And then sure enough, just like she said in her bucket list, she opened the cupboard and took out the trash and spread trash all over the house and had such a fun time doing it, cleaned up after her, never did it again. And it's not like I'm scolding her or telling her not to do it. I laughed and then cleaned up after her. And then she was like, okay, check that off my list. And then we took her to the beach, and it was wonderful. And it was such a beautiful day. And then driving home, it kind of hit me. Oh my God, that was the last thing on her list. And I realized it had been a year. And sure enough, it wasn't too long after that she passed away. And she told me that she was going to train my next service dog. And I told her, I don't want another service dog if it's not going to be you. So just don't bother. And sure enough, through some crazy random circumstances, we got this rescue puppy in that we were going to find a home for. And she greeted him at the door like, hey, come in. I've been waiting for you. And she literally trained him. And now he's my service dog. So every single thing that she said a year before she passed, everything came true. She did everything.
That's amazing.
But
I love how she asked for the farewell parade too. She said, I don't want people to cry over me and everything. I just want this farewell parade. I thought, what a cool thing. I wish we could all have enough time to know when we're going to pass so that we can all have a farewell parade while we're alive. I mean, that's so cool.
oh my God, it was so much fun. Yes, we had a farewell parade. Now, not all animals ask for the same things. The things that she asked for were very unique. And, I talk to my animal communication clients that are about to pass away. And some say, I just want to lay in your lap and watch movies for the remainder of the time. Some say, I want to go immediately. Don't do anything. Just let me go. Some say, I want to rest under the shade tree in our favorite park, and I want you to invite all our friends and have a party. Some say, I just simply want all the members of the family to gather around and set me free. We had a goat named Patience, and she was very clearly passing away, and she couldn't stand or walk. And she was in her room, and she said, I'd really like to be out in the barnyard one more time. I want to look at the barnyard. I want to look at all my companions one last time. So we put her on a stretcher, and we carried her out to the top of the barnyard, and we set her down, and she found the strength. She wasn't able to stand, so I don't know where she found the strength, but she was able to stand up, and she just looked all over the barnyard. She looked at every single animal, every tree, every barn, every little detail of her barnyard for 20 minutes and took it all in. And then she collapsed. And then we brought her back into her room and she passed away. Everyone is different. And what means something to one animal means nothing to the next. They all have whatever it is that meant the most to them that they want to experience one last time before they go. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Again, that just highlights how they're all individuals and we can't make assumptions about animals. So we just have the honor and the pleasure of getting to know them and how many amazing encounters you've had with animals. That's so wonderful. All right, before we move on, because we've had so much to talk about, and I want to make sure that we hit all the wrap-up questions. But one of the things I'd like to know is, do animals understand us when we speak to them? Like if we're just speaking English to them, do they understand what we're saying, or are they mostly just understanding based upon our emotions? Or I'd love a little bit more insight on that.
I am so glad that you're asking this question because it is so important to discuss this, and it's something that I love saying. It is my very firm belief that our animals understand every single solitary word. And not only do they understand the words that we're speaking, but they understand so much more about what's going on around them and around us. The reason as an animal communicator that I'm able to talk to an animal is because I hear their words. But in addition to hearing their words, we're also trading pictures. They're showing me pictures. I'm showing them pictures. When we talk out loud to our animals, as we are speaking the words, we are forming pictures in our minds, which they see. So they're not only hearing our words and understanding us, but they're seeing the pictures that we're forming in our minds, which is why, by the way, when we want our animals to do something, it's so vitally important that we concentrate on telling them what we do want and not talking about what we don't want. Because if we explain what we don't want, we're inadvertently telling them to do it. But yes, they understand everything. Now, I have had animals. There was a dog, and I was talking to this dog. I knew nothing about him other than his name, his gender, his age, how long they had him, and who he lives with in the household. He proceeded to tell me during an animal communication reading that I need to convince the mom not to leave the husband, that she is sick and tired of what's going on and that she's filing for divorce and she's going to leave their husband. And the dog was saying, look, I know he's an idiot sometimes, but he's actually a really nice guy and he is trying. And if she just gives him a little bit more time, they can resolve this to please not leave. And when I called the client to tell her this, she burst into tears and she said, it's true. I just went to see a lawyer. I was thinking about divorce. And because of the dog begging her not to, they went to couples therapy and they tried harder and they're still married to this day. That dog saved their marriage. I had another dog that I spoke to who had passed away. It was an animal on the other side. And this dog kept showing me a pill bottle and kept saying, tell her not to do it, tell her not to do it, tell her not to do it, tell her not to do it. I didn't know what she was talking about, so I just wrote it down. When I called the dog's person and told her this, the person burst into tears and said, yeah, I've been planning my suicide. And I said, well, your dog is telling you not to, that there are other things that you have to go through and learn and experience before you go, that you are wanted here, that you are needed here, that it is not time to go, that you need to stay. And the woman is now alive and well because of her dog, her dead dog. And then I have one more example. This cat told me in a reading, and again, I didn't know any particulars about their lives. I didn't know these people. And the cat kept showing me something to do with the heart, but it didn't feel like it was her heart. It felt like it was someone else's heart, and I didn't understand it. So I wrote it down, and when I called the mom, I said, she kept showing me heart, like pressure on the heart, like heart failure, but it wasn't her heart. I don't understand. And the woman also burst into tears, and she said, I have heart failure. And she said, I don't understand how my cat could possibly know this because I haven't told my husband, I haven't told my kids, I haven't told anyone. I just had the doctor's appointment 2 days ago, and I've been waiting for the right time and the courage to tell people. And I said, well, your cat knows. Our animals know what's going on with us. They know our thoughts. They know what we're thinking. They know our pains and our joys. They know our relationships. They know what we're going through. And a lot of people don't turn to their animals because they want to spare them or they don't want to burden them. And I'm encouraging you to not only talk to your animals because they understand every word, but share what you're going through, confide in them, turn to them because they're in it with you anyway. So you might as well include them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that just gave me full body chills. Those stories are incredible. That's incredible. Whew. Okay. Well, let's move on to the wrap up questions, even though I don't want to. I want to keep talking about all these stories, but you probably already said this in different words, but I'll give you another opportunity. What do you wish more people knew about animals?
I wish more people knew that we are all the same. I wish people knew that the same thoughts, griefs, losses, feelings, emotions, things that light us up, things that bring us down, the same things that we go through, the same way that we talk about it, the same way that we process it is the same thing that animals go through. A lot of people, like, someone will come over and maybe they were like over a couple of years ago or a year ago, whatever. And then they'll come over again and they'll go, oh my God, your animals remember me. Well, if I recognize the person, why wouldn't my animals? They have the same perspective, perception. They have the same memories that we do. Now, obviously, they're very different in personality, the same way that we are. Like one person might be very stoic and resilient. The other person might be brought to their knees from an experience. The same thing with animals. There's animals that are more talkative. There's animals that are more quiet. There's animals that are more open and warm. There's animals that are more guarded and sheltered. But they are the same as us. We are all the same. We just come in and out of form. You know, a soul could come in as a human and then leave and then come in as a dog and then leave. We come in and out of form. That's what we do. There is no beginning and there's no ending. Our souls last forever. There is no ending for life and love. Life and love are permanent. They are forever. And we just change forms. And the more intuitive we are, the more meditative we are, the more connected we are, the more that we will see that for ourselves.
So beautiful. How do you define success in this lifetime?
I love that question. I define success in our lifetime when we inspire, affect, or touch someone else. We are not here for ourselves. Like the American dream of the house with the white picket fence and the 3.5 kids and the beautiful car and the vacations. That's not why we're here. And I know young people starting out, it's like, all the things that I'm going to get. Okay, fine. But that's a phase that we pass through. And once we have all those things or pass through that, we realize we're not here for those things at all. We're here to give. We're here to inspire. We're here to affect others. We're here to give to others. We're here to go through our experiences, learn from them, grow stronger for them, and benefit from them. And then we're here to take all those lessons and all those skills that we gain from those experiences and share it with others. That's it. And I think kids know who they are and why they've come, and then we forget. And so life is about remembering who we are and why we've come. And the things that lit us up and set us on fire when we were kids, those are the things that we're supposed to do as adults. So if adults are kind of lost and not sure who they are or why they've come, just look for it in your childhood and you're going to find it. I was talking to animals from my earliest memory of 3 years old. And now, surprise, surprise, I'm an animal communicator. I was bringing animals home at 6 years old and trying to save them. Surprise, surprise, I founded a sanctuary. Who we are and why we've come lies in our childhood. And if we don't know what it is, all we have to do is look back there and we'll find it. And so success is when we get to create and live those dreams, remember who we are, and do why we've come and affect others. That is success. Huge success.
I love that. That's beautiful. All right. I'd love to know if there's a goal or a dream that has evaded you thus far, or something that's left on your bucket list that you're willing to share with us.
Oh, yeah. I have so many other things on my bucket list. I am in the process, so it's something that I am attaining hopefully soon, but it's on my bucket list that I want to write a series of kids' books, tell these animal stories more. The reason why I'm here is to show the world how beautiful these animals are. So I did that through the Gentle Barn. I'm doing it through animal communication. I want to do it through a whole series of kids' books. I want to do it through a kids' television series. I want to do it maybe through a movie or a reality TV show for an older audience. I want to do it maybe one day through a podcast. I don't know. I want to find as many ways to tell these animal stories as I can so that people can open their hearts and see who these animals truly are, and they can make kinder choices, and we can all live happily ever after.
I love that. Well, I'll just tell you that after I finished reading your book, I woke up kind of halfway awake, that halfway dreaming, halfway awake stage. And I thought that I had seen a movie because your stories are they're so elaborate and they're so rich and beautiful that when I woke up, I was like, wait, was that a dream? Was that a movie? Where did this come from? And I do think that these stories could absolutely be made into a movie to reach an audience and touch an audience. So I'm really hoping that you'll be approached for somebody wanting to buy some movie rights and make this into a beautiful movie. I think it would be amazing.
Thank you. I say yes to that.
Okay, let's call it in.
Let's do it.
What does it mean to be human?
So when I look at the animal kingdom, I wonder to myself, why do we have opposable thumbs and other animals don't? Why do we have such choices and such ability for technology and such ability to affect others, whereas animals, are kind of just like living the lives that they, were designed for them? And the answer is because I think that we choose to come in as humans to affect our planet. Now, unfortunately, up until now, we are affecting our planet, but in negative ways. And I think that this is the time of a great awakening, as I like to say. It's the time for us to evolve spiritually, to awaken, to understand our tremendous responsibility for others and this planet itself, and for us to start affecting, but affecting in a positive way. And that, to me, is what it means to be human. To be human is to save the forests, to clean out the oceans, to allow animal species to thrive, to protect them, to provide for them, to defend them, to work together to make this planet the heaven that it was always supposed to be. That is why we're here. That is why we've come. That is what it means to be human, to improve, to perfect, and to preserve this planet and every single living being in it. That is what it means to be human. And that's why we are so misaligned with our purpose. But little by little by little, more people are awakening to what we're really supposed to be doing here.
Oh, amen to that. That was amazing. Well, Ellie, fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I know that my listeners would love to connect with you. So tell them where they can find you, again, where your Gentle Barn locations are, how they can get your books, and all of those details.
So the Gentle Barn is located in Los Angeles, California, Nashville, Tennessee, and St. Louis, Missouri. Please come visit a Gentle Barn and hug a cow, cuddle a turkey, give a pig a tummy rub, hear their stories of resilience, and meet these remarkable animals. You will be inspired. In the meantime, people can follow the Gentle Barn on all social media platforms and fall in love and connect with the animals that way. My book can be found anywhere books are sold, on Amazon. It's also available on audiobook, and they can get a signed copy at the Gentle Barn website, gentlebarn.org. And people can find me and learn more about animal communication and what I'm doing at ellielaks.com.
Amazing. Well, Ellie, again, thank you so much. I am so grateful for you, all the work that you're doing. I definitely want to do another episode. I think we could probably do a whole nother episode on self-care and burnout and all of those things, because I had a lot of questions about that I had to skip because we had so many beautiful stories to talk about. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And may you continue to be blessed on your journey, have a strong body, mind, and spirit so that you can continue this work and have many supporters of all of your locations and all of your work. So thank you so much and have a plantastic day.
Thank you so much for having me, and all those things that you just said about me, you as well. I am Ellie Laks, and I am human.
Thank you for listening to another episode of I Am Human. I would be so honored if you subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. We love our listeners and take your feedback seriously. If you have questions or constructive feedback, you can email us at podcast@dryami.com. That's podcast@doctoryami.com. I am your host, Dr. Yami Cazorla-Lancaster. I Am Human is produced by myself and Alejandra Parra. Graphics designed by Alejandra Parra. Music by Angela Soph with Glowbox Productions and edited by the Castos production team. Remember, human, you are here for a reason. Have fun, explore, and live your life to the fullest.